Hi guys, today's video is going to be a bit more chill, a bit more downturned. I'm just going to be answering some of you guys' questions that you have DM'd me on Instagram. I'm currently in the process of moving out of my apartment, so everything kind of just like up in the air because I'm trying to like find another place to stay temporarily before I eventually, you know, fly home. If you are new here to this channel, my name is itschloetan. I'm currently a second year, I guess rising third year, oh my god, at UChicago studying economics and a minor in data science. Surprisingly, I actually get a decent number of like requests and questions on Instagram. Let's just start off with the first one. Hi, my name is blank and I'm about to be a sophomore at blank. I wanted to ask for some tips and advice for me as I'm about to be a sophomore student this fall and wants to go to UChicago after high school. I want to go for mathematics and UChicago is a college I would really like to go to. Alright, so if you're studying mathematics in high school and you want to do mathematics at UChicago, I think my biggest advice to you is, of course you know what major you would like to study, but also consider your overall profile. Putting yourself as like a math student in order to get into UChicago may not be, you know, like the smartest decision out there. But I think for UChicago, display yourself as, you know, having interests like math plus like something else. It could be anything. It doesn't even have to be like academically related. Just when you're looking at your profile, you're writing all of these creative essays, maybe have one essay that's more about maybe like the philosophical aspect or like the theoretical part about math, because that's UChicago's stereotype, which is that works great in reality, but how does it work in theory? As long as you know you have like good hard stats, GPAs, standardized test scores, and you have like an interesting personality that at least interesting on paper, you should have a pretty decent chance of getting into UChicago. Hi, I know this is kind of random, but I've been watching your videos for a while. I was just wondering what your experience with your booster board has been at UChicago and if you would recommend it. So booster board recently has shut down. Like the company is no longer making boards, so I would not recommend boosted board because it's gone. I personally love using an electric skateboard around campus. It is quite pricey, but if price isn't really a concern for you, I would say going around school in an electric skateboard, I prefer it than biking or walking. Well, walking for obvious reasons because it's faster, but I prefer it to biking because one, you can carry more things in your arms. Like you have a backpack. I can even carry like racks of like bags of groceries on my two arms while like navigating, while for a bike you can only really put them on the bike handles and your little basket up front. I'm also just better at riding like my electric skateboard than biking. I used to do rollerblading. I can kind of skateboard, so for me it was just much more natural. You can also go a lot faster, which is amazing. And the best thing about booster board, at least mine, is that you can go in the rain/snow. Not really ice, but rain is 100% fine. I actually tested it in like pretty heavy rain, and it worked out perfectly fine, except my shoes got really dirty. I'll be uploading a boosted board unboxing haul on my channel, as well as my 6-month review after using it, so check that out for more details. Am I going back to China/Shanghai this summer? I'm trying to, but currently China's not allowing foreigners to get in. And I'm Singaporean, so obviously that doesn't work, even though all my family is in Shanghai. But I'm going to be going to Singapore and maybe Hong Kong. So hopefully, you know, whenever China loosens up their boundaries, I'll be on the first flight in. Hey Chloe, I'm a rising freshman at UChicago and I just saw your video about taking a gap year. I'm considering doing the same, but I'm feeling really indecisive. Do you have any advice? I was also really indecisive about taking a gap year for probably like 2 or 3 months, honestly. Ultimately, the pushing factor that made me take a gap year was the reasons I didn't want to take a gap year. The only reason I really didn't want to take a gap year was because it just felt weird and I was not sure about what I would do on my gap year. But on the other hand, I had all of these things I wanted to do. So what was really pulling me back was this idea that like, could I actually execute all of these things? And when I told myself that, you know, this could be a trial, it could be interesting, you know, I think I could push myself to get these things done, then the only thing holding me back was just the concept of a gap year. So the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know, it's pretty normal, so I normalized it, and in the end I decided to take the plunge. Aww, some people just wrote me messages to thank me, and that's the best. It's so sweet. Okay, this one's long, but essentially it's just trying to decide between UChicago and Columbia. And I mean, I just uploaded a video, and my last like school that I was considering before UChicago was Columbia, so maybe check that one out. Her reasons for UChicago is likes Life of the Mind but is intimidated by it, love how it's in NYC, I did too. As a student body, it's really diverse, and she's an introvert. UChicago might be more in your comfort zone, especially if you want to do math and philosophy or like CS. Math and philosophy is actually a super common major, or CS and philosophy, super common major. And I guess if you're an introvert, UChicago could be the better place for you, just because I think there are more introverts at UChicago than Columbia. But on the other hand, don't pick a school just because you don't want to like be extroverted. at all, right? It's about finding your correct fit in terms of the communities as well. So I would say UChicago sounds like the better fit for you, but look at other reasons as well, right? So I would pick UChicago, obviously, but it's honestly your decision based on what communities you want to be in. This person gave me a lot of background on who they are, which is always super useful. But essentially, is it possible to get full financial aid there? Is it very competitive? And since they are from an underprivileged family, I guess I can fulfill all the requirements. So the sad thing about UChicago is that it is not need blind to international students, and so it is a concern, right? Because they do want students, a part of students who can pay their full tuition, especially since they are need blind to US citizens. If you are in an underprivileged family and you have a strong profile, so good hard stats, so in the top like 10%-ish of your grade, your SAT scores are above 15, 20, or your ACT score is like 33 or above, and you have like a couple of SAT2s or like maybe a couple APs or just whatever region you're in, I think you have a decent chance, especially if you write a good essay. The essay is basically all that matters for UChicago. Your hard stats don't even matter that much. It just gives you a better gauge about, you know, whether it's possible. The essays are what matters. Definitely apply for full financial aid, and I think if you have good essays, you have decent stats, you have a shot of getting it, right? So I would say spend the $75, $80, however much it is, and just apply to see. Here in Argentina, the high schools are not the best academically. The transition from high school to college would be too difficult, and if teachers are flexible with previous knowledge, or if they do as if you know everything and just move on and move on. So that was a concern for me as well, because I go to high school in Shanghai, but honestly, academically, it wasn't that big of a concern for me because I know my high school is very difficult. We were reading like postmodernism, structuralism, and all of these like very difficult texts when I was in like 9th or 10th grade. And so I wasn't super concerned about like the difficulty and being able to keep up. But when I came to UChicago, of course, I met a lot of people from either, you know, like public schools that maybe aren't very academically rigorous, or from private schools that were very academically rigorous, or even private schools that weren't really, or just from like kids from all walks of life, right? And I think it really isn't as difficult as you might think it is in terms of the barrier to knowledge. It's more about, can you put in the effort that's required to get there faster? The kids who really excel are kids who have soft skills really built up, such as speaking up in class, public speaking in general, or being able to frame your words on paper. Super important, you know, your ability to write and put down what you think, as well as, you know, the ability to like manage your time, self-discipline. Those things are probably the things that get people ahead most of the time. But for STEM classes or for humanities classes, the teacher just kind of assumes that no one knows anything and teaches you all of it again, albeit the pace is really, really fast, but you don't really need to worry about prior knowledge. For UChicago, how is the environment for international students? I think it's super international student friendly. There's like a lot of programs like early orientation or pre-orientation programs that make international students feel quite at home. I will say that the Asian community, like the Chinese community specifically, usually sticks together. International students, mainly you can separate them into those with an accent or with some sort of an accent, and those without an accent by American standards. So I have a US accent, which I've actually spent a lot of time in making. Otherwise, usually I have a Singlish accent. I don't usually like to talk on this on camera because it makes me feel very weird. And whenever I talk to US people, I just immediately switch to US English. And then whenever I talk to the Singaporeans, I just switch to English. It just sounds really odd, okay? It just sounds odd saying it. Okay, but anyhow, those without an accent I think just blend in perfectly. Those with an accent, I don't think it really like impacts you. There might be some subtle comments about like, oh, that person may not be really good at English because they have an accent, but then usually they're very good at writing, so the comments kind of just disappear after a while. I don't think there's really a gap, and I think there are a lot of international students, so. Okay, I'll be like freshman at UChicago next year and I like a single. I don't know how I could get a single. Could you take me through the process? Do I have to go through any special forms? I don't know how it is right now because I know they got rid of the ability to choose dorms, which really, really sucks. The way UChicago housing works is that you have a bunch of like characteristics that they give you. So for example, do you want your room to be on a high floor? Do you want a single? Do you want like a gender neutral bathrooms? Do you want like single gender floors, so one floor with only like females or only males? And I think there are a couple others as well. And then what you do is you have the numbers, I think 1 to 9, and then you can rank them in order of most important to least important to you, 1 being the most important. So what I did to get a single was I put North as my first choice, obviously, and I put single as my number 1, and everything else that came after that was everything that was related to singles. That's how it worked for me 2 years ago, but it may be changed now. This one has a bunch of questions. What do you think of the internship opportunity / program at UChicago? I think there's a lot of support. I was really impressed with career advancement and the areas they cover and the resources they give you. There's like a really supportive alumni network, and there are like weekly newsletters, or maybe even more often than weekly, when they send out like all of the internship opportunities available for every year that you're in, as well as some majors. They also have, you know, some internships that are more exclusive, but they also list them to let you know if I want to get access to these internships, what qualifications or what programs I need to be in. There's also a lot of like on-call advisors and counselors that you can just randomly book a meeting to. Even if you're like a bio major, you can book a meeting with like entrepreneur counselor, business or finance or anything basically. You can just do like a one-on-one meeting with them. What core curriculum classes have you taken, and do you think they're helpful towards your major? The definition of core is not helpful towards your major. It's the whole idea is to give you a set of skills and knowledge that will be helpful towards any major. So far I've taken bio, and I didn't take core bio. I took metabolism and nutrition. I finished my math sequence. I finished my art requirement, and I loved my art class, and it was absolutely amazing. I took one art quarter because I did 3/4 of humanities. So you can do 2/4 of humanities or 2 arts, but I did 3/4 of humanities and 1 art. And my humanities was reading cultures, and we basically just read books from different parts of the world and analyzed them in class. Super fun. I also finished my soc, and I took power, identity, and resistance. Honestly, in my opinion, the best soc out there. So that's 5. I took 1 physical science. I think I took global warming. So what I have left is I still have to do another physical science, and I have to do my 2 civ courses. What has been your favorite class and why? So obviously I took a bunch of econ classes for my major, but I can't really say that I like them too much. Some of my professors have just been I think my favorite class overall is probably my arts class. It was just so much fun. My professor was also like a professional photographer, and I just loved her assignments and the way the class was structured, and it was just so much fun. It was the first class that I would show up like 30 minutes early and just kind of like sit there and do work and talk to the professor. Loved that class. How would you describe the overall atmosphere at UChicago? Very studious, but very work hard, play hard. You can find joy in doing the weirdest things on campus, and I honestly love that. Roofing is kind of a thing. It's not actually a thing. Going downtown, going to museums. I love the art museum, it's amazing. I think the parties are like okay. I think what's more fun is going to a party for like 20 minutes and then dipping and then going to grab food at Chinatown with your friends. It's just a chill atmosphere where everyone is kind of set on like, you know, studying, but everything other than that, it's all about like how we can have fun and like make use of the time where we're not studying. So there's a very conscious split between like this is study time and this is not study time. And so during non-studying time, everyone's just like, how can we have the most fun so we don't regret this time? Hey, I had seen your MUN video and it was really helpful. I'm in Denmark right now and it's my first time. Do you have a handbook, or which sites do you use for getting the information? So fun question, because I'm actually wearing the UChicago MUN team sweatshirt. Websites and online stuff, it doesn't really help you that much. Honestly, the most helpful thing will be asking someone in your area who's gone to your specific conference who has done MUN before. It's difficult for me to give you advice because I'm sure how they do MUN in Denmark is really different from how they do MUN in Shanghai or how they do MUN in the US, right? I've actually gotten a lot of MUN questions on my channel because I had that like MUN video up. Here's the reason why I can't really give you guys more information, or I can't make more new videos about it. I am on the UChicago competitive MUN team, and I don't want to accidentally, you know, give away any information that is like kind of like exclusive to our team. I am thinking about maybe uploading some stuff I used when I was doing high school MUN, or some like documents I created when I was doing high school MUN. But the reason I can't really speak on that anymore is because, I don't know, I just don't want to be in this awkward situation where I'm on the UChicago MUN team, but I'm like giving advice to other people about how to do MUN. So yeah, that's the reason why I haven't been making a lot of MUN videos. Hello, I was looking into joining MUN and I saw your MUN video. So I needed to ask you a few questions if that's fine with you. Does the whole team go to the meeting competition thing, or is it just a few people? Funny you should ask that, but no. Usually one person can only go to 1 competition per quarter, but of course, you know, that varies and that really depends on like the quarter, or depends on like the number of competitions. So obviously, you know, with COVID, a lot of the conferences were canceled, so a lot of people just didn't go to conference because there weren't any conferences to go to. Obviously, we can't send the entire team to every single competition, just financially that doesn't work. Does it help with your GPA? In high school, I guess I help with my college competitiveness a lot, but it doesn't really help with your GPA. I guess the soft skills like public speaking and research help with studying, but it doesn't help with your GPA much. I want to be a lawyer, so does MUN help me in university? I think it does. I think the ability to just like speak to random people, be quite bold in what you're stating is something you get from MUN, and will definitely help you as a lawyer. I think the amount of like hard research that being a lawyer or law school requires, debate might be a better fit for you. So I think if you're set on being a lawyer, do moot court or mock trial, do debate, do MUN, and see which one you like the most, because all of them are quite similar in that they're all like public speaking based. Hey, love your videos. Can you do a general English versus American universities video? I mean, I could, but I don't think there's too much to it. English universities or UK universities are cheaper. They're also usually 3 years, and they're specialized, which is the biggest difference. You can only pick one major, and you study that major for all 3 or 4 years, while US universities, you can kind of do whatever you want. US universities, you also have more resources to kind of do other things. Like, I'm not an art student, but I have full access to like our arts, photography, film, equipment, and like the dark rooms and studios and stuff. Well, for UK universities, I don't think that's the case. Hi, I've seen many of your videos on your application and acceptance to Oxford PPE. Would you say it's worth applying? Yes. Just apply. It's only one essay. Do it. Hi, I'm subscribed to your YouTube channel. I was wondering, I found your videos on TSA and was wondering if you still have the past papers. I do. I re-uploaded them. Check my newest video on UK stuff or my community posts, and I think I have them linked. How early would you suggest to start preparing for it in order to get a high mark? 2 or 3 months in advance if you don't have a really strong English fundamental. I prepared maybe a couple of weeks in advance, but I also just procrastinated and that was not ideal, so I think 2 or 3 months is my sweet spot. This is where I'm gonna end the video, but I hope this answered a couple of your questions. If you have any more, just comment them down below. I'm quite prone to writing long answers to comments, so if you want to see something that is specific in my next upcoming videos, leave a comment as well, and I will get on that really quickly. And yeah, I guess that's about it. Bye bye!